Hello, my name is Benga and here are most of my plants. Today we're going to do a quick check-in for the start of spring. So, as you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and another 8th one over there to get through. So let's just get started. Okay, update number 1 is for this little succulent here. I got this in summer of last year, summer of 2022. I think I got it around August, maybe July-ish kind of time. And typically with succulents, there's not much visible growth over that kind of period of time, as far as I know. This is the first succulent I've ever owned, but I noticed about, a month ago that there is actually some new growth going on right in the center. So this cluster here is completely new. I think it's a completely new cluster that's growing out of that center, because I don't actually know how this plant grows. No idea. So I just thought it was going to produce new leaves out of the very center, which is here. Let's see if we can get it to focus. Hold on. I thought a new leaf was going to come from the right there in the center, but actually there's like a cluster of new leaves coming out of this section here, which is quite interesting. So I'm wondering if it's going to grow like a new bunch. Like if this is one big bunch, if it's going to grow a new bunch from the center here, from the side of the center here, which will be very interesting. But I'm really enjoying how, let me move myself out of the frame so it will stop auto-focusing. I'm really enjoying how the very tips of the leaves are so red, because it's still true for all of the tips of all the other leaves, but when it's small, it's much more visible. The red is more vibrant, and I guess because it's a smaller leaf, it takes more of the leaf is red, so it's more obvious. I'm a fan. So that's all that's going on with this, and I hope this grows a lot later in the summer. We'll see what we get to. Number 2 is this Pothos Enjoy. I've had this since, I don't know off the top of my head, but I know because I remember the day I got it, but I will do some maths in the background and put something on the screen to indicate when I got it. But effectively, I think I've had it for about a year or so. And yeah, I know, I've had it for a year. So it's a cutting. And when I started, I think it had 3 leaves or so. And those leaves have all died. But when I first got it, it grew another like 2 or 3 leaves, but every leaf was smaller than the previous one, so I didn't know what was going on. I just kept watering it and kept the faith, effectively. And somehow it's managed to keep on its original lowest leaf. And recently I noticed in the last month that it started growing again. I thought it was all done for because it actually had lost a lot of the leaves between here and here were all brown and shriveling up. But recently there's been some activity at the very front, and both this leaf and this leaf have been new over the last month. So I don't know what's going on. It's very active right now. In fact, if you look very closely, and if I can make it focus on the plant, I'll probably put it into B-roll because I don't think you can see it very clearly, but the 3rd leaf is already on the way. You can see it just between the 2. If you look very closely, it's here, that little bump there. So yeah, I'm not sure why, but it's really active at the moment, which I'm not mad at. I was gonna give up on this plant. When I saw it lose all those leaves, I was like, this is done for. But it's pulling through, so I'm happy. Side note, there's moss or something small and green growing in here. You can see little bits of it. If I zoom in, if you look in the soil, you can see sort of green flecks in the soil. I think that's moss growing in there. So I couldn't figure out what it was when I first noticed it, and haven't looked it up yet, but I think it's moss. So I think that's a good thing, because it means the soil is active. There's things going on. There's nutrients and what have you. If you're curious, this is in a 3-inch pot, which is 7.6 centimeters apparently. Number 3 is these strawberries. Now, I'm tired of these plants. I planted these at some point last year, I think, and they grew a bit, and then they've just been struggling and kind of holding on for dear life ever since. and I'm just a bit over it. Like, I don't want to throw them away because they are still alive and I can see a lot of growth happening, but also they're just not, like, there's just brown leaves every week and I'm just a bit tired. I haven't seen no damn strawberries, so it just kind of feels not very rewarding. But that's partly to do with my own fault, because I didn't plant these at the right time of the year. I just planted them like when it was convenient for me, which I think was in the middle of the summer, maybe towards the end of the summer last year. So anyway, they're still here, but I'm less enthused by them, but they're here. We'll see where they get to by the end of the growing season. Number 4, this Alocasia, which I previously have called it a cuculata on the channel, but I actually think I've now looked at it more and I think it's actually an Alocasia wentii, just based on the leaf shape. And I didn't know what an Alocasia wentii looked like before, so looking at it now, I think that's what it is. In terms of updates, so if you remember, I will put the video here. I chopped this up, well, chopped off I removed some leaves and I chopped off some of the leaves and other bits and bobs. But basically, from where it was then, which I will insert a screenshot there, is what it looks like now. I think it looks pretty similar because leaf 1, 2, and 3 have not dropped, they're just still there. But the only difference is at the top, in the center, you'll see here, I think we were up to, in that last video, we were up to this leaf here, which kind of grew malformed, and I don't know what was going on. Instead of the leaf unfurling, it was still furled, and it came out like a hook like this. I don't know what was going on, so I cut it off, and then the next leaf that grew was this one, which, if you look, let me see if I can get the angle. Yeah, if you look, that leaf also, the tiniest little leaf emerged, and it didn't unfurl. So that's just there, don't know what's happened. And then it went dormant for like 4 months. And then recently, in the last month, this leaf came out. Well, I say leaf, I don't know what to call this, but this came out, and this white thing I think is a leaf, but it's all bleached and white and it didn't unfurl. I'm not sure what's going on. But in the last week, I've noticed this actual full-on regular Alocasia leaf that I used to know and love has started unfurling here. So I'm hopeful that this is a sign that this plant is back on track, and also that it is going to actually start producing real leaves, not just whatever it's been doing for the last couple of leaves. I don't know what's going on there. The babies, the babies are actually quite big. I didn't notice, but there's not been a new leaf. This new leaf, this is the biggest leaf from, there's 2 babies. This is the biggest leaf from one of them, and it has not grown any new leaves in about 3-4 months. So I don't know, didn't know what was going on. If you look at the bottom, there's 1 new leaf here and 1 new leaf over here. So again, I think we're on the up. We're on the up with this one. Okay, plant number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this is the 5th plant in this update. My avocado, also known as a Persea americana. I am so proud of this plant. Like, the way that I just grin whenever I see it. So if you don't know, I grew this plant from a seed. I've talked about that in a video, which I'll put here. And it has been growing for now, I want to say 1.5 years. I might be wrong, but if I am wrong, I'll correct myself in edits. And it's been doing really well. The only blips we've had was, there was a point where I underwatered it, so the very tips of the leaves you may see, if the camera picks it up, the very tip of the leaf is a bit brown. It doesn't come out very clear. Actually, this was probably the best way of showing it. The very tip of that leaf is brown, you see? That was me just not watering it enough. Now, over the winter, this plant went completely dormant. I don't know, I didn't expect it because the previous winter I don't think it did, but I think up until here, it was up till here until from about October, maybe even September, from September till about last week, there was just no activity. It just stopped. There was a tiny leaf at the top, which wasn't doing anything. It was just stuck, static. And in the last about 2 weeks, all of this stuff on top has happened. So as in this leaf, this leaf, this leaf, that leaf, and then all of these, you can see all these leaves that are getting ready to go too. So I'm really happy. Like, it just seems to be loving life, and especially because I moved this into a place that has lower light. Like, this is in a west facing window. West facing window. And in the UK, over the winter, in west facing windows, you basically don't get any light, because normally I wouldn't get light this is my bedroom. I don't get light in my bedroom until about, I didn't direct light until about 4, 5 typically. So it's just dark in there most of the time. And then during the winter, it's always cloudy as well. So even when you are getting direct sunlight, it's not direct sunlight because there's clouds in the way, and it's very low light. It's not very intense or direct. It's just kind of ambient lighting. Whereas now, as you can probably see on my face, it's brighter, the days are longer, it's getting a little bit warmer. Clearly I jinxed it, because between recording that and me editing it now, it has been freezing. The other day I texted my friend, I was like, I actually have light in my bedroom for the first time this year. It's emotional. So I don't know if it's just that, but this plant is ready to go. So I'm just glad that even in that lower light condition, it seems to be doing well. I moved it because I needed to put other plants in places where this was before, and it's doing really well. So I'm glad. And let this be a sign. Just grow an avocado plant. Like, I can't explain to you how happy I am with this plant, especially given where it started, and I really did it as an experiment. I just saw online other people growing avocado plants from a seed from the supermarket, and I was like, let me try that too. And here I am, all this year time later, like a year and a half, and this plant is as tall as my head. I'm happy. That's the avocado plant. Okay, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My snake plant. This is a Dracaena trifasciata Laurentii. I rarely talk about this plant because I say all the time, I pretty much neglect / disrespect this plant all the time. I'm sorry, but it just is what it is. And I think sometimes you say things too many times and then karma just comes back to bite. So I always talk about how I ignore this plant, and whenever I look at it and I'm like, oh, I should water you, I'm like, nah, and I just skip the watering until the next time around. I think I did that a few too many times, and I think this thing is dehydrated. You probably can't tell because it's kind of awkward, but in the center, there's a leaf here, which is starting to go a bit, ooh, did you hear that crunch? It's clearly getting dehydrated. So I think it needs to be watered, well, I was going to say more frequently, it needs to be watered, full stop, because I truly don't think I've watered this since about November. It is now March. Okay, yeah, that's the issue. What I think I did was, in November, I was like, no, I'm not going to water you right now. And in December, I was also like, no, I'm not going to water you now because I'm going away as well. I'm going to go away and I'll water when I come back. And when I came back, I then watered all these plants except this one again. So I think I skipped watering 3 times, and that's the issue here. That's the issue. So there's no wonder why it's so dry. So this clearly needs some action. But also, because there's some mold in the soil, I didn't want to water it. I've been like resisting watering it because I thought I was going to do something about that mold and then water it. I don't want to add water to the mold because that would just, exacerbate the problem. So note to self, me from the future, hello, add to your to-do list, deal with the mold, and then water this plant or it's going to die. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My banana plant, also known as the Musa acuminata Zebrina, otherwise known as the blood banana. Now, we've been on a journey with this plant. Evidence is here. It's not been doing so well lately, and that's partly because I left it in the cold because of the mold, and also because I didn't water it enough. So a lot of combining factors have come to leave it to where it is now. But I'm glad to say that this is a full new leaf that came out, I think, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, which has come all the way out now, and it's got its red markings on it, which is a good sign, I think. It's quite a thin leaf, like a narrow leaf. I'm not sure why. The previous leaves, as you can literally see with this one here, this is how wide this leaf is, and this is how wide this leaf was. So I'm not sure why that is, but I'm just glad that it's bringing out new leaves. As you can see, there's another leaf on the way, which is here. It's looking to be just as narrow as this one, so I'm really not sure why that's happening. I'm assuming it just panicked when I chopped it down, and it's some sort of like self-preservation technique, which is fine, do your thing. But it seems to be recovering, or not at least worsening, from the position it was in before I took action. If you remember, this plant was like deteriorating in some way that I didn't fully understand. It looked like it had a disease, and I removed a lot of the leaves, and I think we're in a better position now. What I will say is the baby on the bottom, I think you can roughly see it, but if not, I will actually let me pick it up. Yeah, it's really heavy, cold water in it. But you can see the leaf down the bottom is starting to get those black markings. And again, I still don't know what caused it. So what I will do is, once this new leaf on the baby has come out, I will remove that black leaf, and then hopefully that solves the problem. Again, if you know what the hell the problem is, like if that's a disease or whatever, let me know so I can protect against it in the future. And finally, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need to count my total number of plants. I think I have just under 20. This is number 8 for this video. This is a Schefflera. Still don't know the species, but I'm assuming it's a Schefflera no, I don't remember, but Schefflera begins with an A is the species, I think, but it was sold to me just as a Schefflera, so I'm gonna just call it Schefflera. Oh, it's actually unnamed. If you have a name suggestion for this plant, let me know. So I bought this approximately, where are we, March, about 4-ish months ago, and I feel like it's in the dark, or am I in the dark? I can't see. Let me come in front of it. I'll give you some B-roll, don't worry. So I bought this plant approximately 4-ish months ago, and I didn't really have a plan for it. A, where I was going to go, B, how to look after it, and C, if I actually liked it that much. But I think I've mentioned before, the reason I bought it was because the braided trunk, I've never seen it on this plant. It's really typical for money plants, the Persea aquatica, but I've never seen it on a Schefflera. And I thought about maybe getting a Schefflera. I wanted a variegated Schefflera, but seeing this, I was like, okay, cool, you sold me. That's not the point of the video. Updates. So I've had this plant for about 4 months, and in that time I didn't really know how to look after it. I was kind of watering, not randomly, but I was trying to get a feel for why it was dropping leaves. I don't know if it was because I was watering it too frequently or not frequently enough. Turns out it was not frequently enough, and I figured that out now, so it's not dropping leaves anymore, and I was like, yay, okay, that's a good thing. But lately, in the last week or two, if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that I started freaking out because I noticed that there were new leaves growing. Particularly with this plant, and I think it's, for me at least, I really noticed the structure of the plant, and that it gives me an idea. Usually it's very obvious how the plant will grow. So for example, with even an avocado plant, the new leaves come from the top and they just grow outwards, and then they become wide like this. And so the plant is growing, the main stem is going up, and new leaves are coming off and branching intermittently. Cool. With my snake plant, really the new, I don't know what to call these. I basically, in my head, I could refer to them as like blades because they're like the blades of grass. The new ones come from somewhere in the soil and they come straight up, and that's it. But once this reaches its final stage, this is how long it's ever going to be, and that's it. It's not going to branch or anything. Cool. With the Schefflera, I was really not sure how it was going to grow because, I mean, I wasn't that familiar with them, and I didn't know what where the signs of growth were going to come from. So it was very intriguing to me when I noticed that there was some growth. That's partly because I moved it and it was on my desk, and I was just kind of absent-mindedly staring at it whilst I was doing some other work, and I was like, what's that? And I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like I sometimes look at a plant and I'm like, I can understand you, I read your aura, I know how you operate. And I was like, oh, this bump is going to turn into a leaf, I just know it. Even though I had no idea and hadn't looked it up, but I was right. So, you definitely can't see from, actually you can kind of see from this distance down here, but let me bring this closer to you. So, you can see now that there is a tiny leaf I'm trying to hold this with one hand and not drop it. There's a tiny leaf growing here. Now, this leaf before would have been as small as, if you look in between that leaf and the fully formed leaf above it, right there, that little bump here, that's what this leaf looked like. And now it's this, and then it'll grow into this. So let me think, see, there's another example down here. This tiny thing here is what started to grow into that leaf. So I just saw that and I was like, oh, that's going to be a leaf. And I was right. Just my sixth sense working overtime. I'll just turn it so you can see from this angle as well. So this little bump here is what turns into the leaves. And the leaves are so, I don't know, they really look like babies. I don't know how to describe it, but you see the way that human babies, they look like they have all the features of, this is such a strange description, they have all the features of humans, like people, adults, fully formed individuals, but just like not all the way there. Like they're paler, their skin is soft, their joints are like there's so much flabby skin and fat like protecting them. That's kind of how I look at these leaves. Like I can see the potential, I can see how you're going to form the full-on leaves, but right now you just have these tiny little pale green shoots. I don't know, it's very endearing, and watching them grow, especially watching, I'll see if I can find an example inside all of this. Yes, okay. I don't know if I can get it on camera, that's the question, but I can see an example. Maybe I'll film it afterwards and put it in B-roll, but there's a stage at which you can see, first of all, it's like a little stump, and then, let me move this so you can see my face properly. There's a little stump, and then that grows, well, it comes out like kind of like this, so it's a stump, and then you can suddenly start to see the individual leaves, and it sort of opens up very gently, and then you can start to see that it's gonna balloon, kind of like, I mean, it's called an umbrella plant for a reason, so it almost looks like the spokes, I think, of an umbrella. Then it starts to open up, and then you can start to see, oh, okay, I can see where this is going, and then it's fully formed, but it's just really small. So I'm very curious to see how it will size and the like rate of growth as well as it starts to fully extend into one of these. All right, I've been talking for way longer than I was expecting, but hopefully it was interesting to somebody. This was just an update as we are just at the beginning of the growing season. The temperatures start to climb. That's not true. The temperatures have started to not be so low, and I'm enjoying that. And it looks like plants are too. They're getting more sunlight, and they're starting to kind of wake up and get ready for summer. So I'm curious to see when we check in at the end of the summer what kind of growth we've gone through. I will try to remember which plants I started with so I can I can show you them at the end, because I was really going to get rid of the alocasia, I'm not going to lie. The alocasia, I was inching towards the bin in my mind, but this new leaf has given me hope. So yeah, I'll give you an update towards the end of the summer. If you have updates, please let me know. I'm very small, tiny tangent. It is very interesting doing YouTube and like effectively broadcasting parts of my life, and having no idea who is watching and what's going on in their lives. So I am genuinely interested to know what's going on with your plants. Please show me, tag me on Instagram, write in a comment, show me what's going on with your plants. I'm very curious, I'd love to know. And hopefully we check in at the end of the summer, we can see what kind of growth we've got, and that will be very rewarding. Music. Now normally I suggest a specific song, an album, but today we've got a mix. My friend Tig, hello if you're watching, thank you for sending me this link. There's a mix that was by 99 Ginger, and I think it was a Mix Mag event. And first of all, oh God, this set was amazing. It was just so much of the music that I like, mixed in a way that I was not expecting. Like I just opened it, I started watching it, and just, you know, when the feeling of being in a club and the DJ just knows the crowd and is playing so many songs that just work well together, despite it not being restricted by genre, and that's what I appreciate a lot in this mix. So the song that came out, that's like in my mind right now, is the song Rewind by Kelela, and just the way it was mixed into the song, in the set, was just, I wasn't expecting it, because the way that he was drumming was beautiful, but I was not expecting that song at all. And then there was a mix. Oh yeah. He mixed In the Morning by Egypt with Yeah Yeah by Aidonia. Who do you know that can pull that off? I wish it was me. I wish I knew someone, and that person I wish that person was me. I literally was stunned by not only the song selection being so for me, but also the mixing being so fluid and so fluent. And I love when you mix two songs together that have nothing to do with each other, but it just works. Oh, delicious. So shout out to 99 Ginger. I'm really hoping to see them live at some point. I don't know when. I know they're coming to London, but I'm not going to be here when they are. So I'm hoping they just do another show or something that I can go to, because they smashed it. Okay, I think I've talked enough. I'm gonna let you go back to whatever you were doing. Thank you for watching. As usual, this is an updates video, so if you want to get the update on this update, then be sure to subscribe over here so you can know when that comes out. And if you're interested in my avocado plant, then here's the video I did on it right here. Bye.